Commander Ethan Vale did not expect to wake up alive. His small escape pod had crashed hours ago on an unknown moon. He had no idea if it even had a name. All he knew was that his ship had been hit during a battle with the Zalari, an insect-like alien race known for their cold ways and sharp claws. He had crawled out of the wreck, his uniform torn, his helmet cracked, and found this cave before he passed out. When he opened his eyes, he thought he was dreaming. Something big and warm was pressed against his side. At first, he thought it was a wild animal. Slowly, he turned his head. His breath caught in his throat. It was her, Sarathaka, the Zalari queen. Even lying down, she looked like royalty. She was twice his size, with a hard shell that gleamed faintly in the moonlight that peeked through cracks in the cave wall. Her wings were tucked tight against her back, and her long arms were folded neatly under her chest. But the strangest thing of all was how calm she looked, sleeping so close to him. Ethan froze. He could feel the steady rise and fall of her breathing. He remembered every story told about her, the fierce queen who united the Zalari clans, the one who had never been seen so close by any human and lived to tell about it. Now she was here, pressed against him as if they were the best of friends. He held his breath, trying not to move. His mind raced. Why is she here? Did she follow me? Is she going to kill me when she wakes up? Then he noticed the cold wind that blew into the cave. His own breath formed mist in the air. He touched the side of the queen's shell. It was warm. He realized she must have come here for the same reason he had, to survive. Ethan swallowed his fear. He looked closer at her. There were small scratches on her shell. Her left arm looked swollen, like she was hurt too. Maybe her ship had crashed too. Maybe she had no choice but to find shelter here. The thought calmed him a little. He pulled his torn blanket close around his shoulders. Slowly, carefully, he lay back down. He could not fight her now. He could not even stand properly on his injured leg. If she wanted him gone, he would already be gone. So he closed his eyes. He listened to the wind. He could feel the queen's warmth and the steady heartbeat deep inside her strong chest. Strange how it made him feel safe, even though every part of his mind told him he should be afraid. When he woke again, sunlight peeked through the cave entrance. His back ached. His legs still hurt. But the queen was still there. But now, she was awake. She watched him with large black eyes, unblinking but calm. They stared at each other for a long time. Neither spoke. Ethan knew the Zalari could speak human languages, but they rarely did. It was not needed on the battlefield. Finally, she shifted her wings. Her voice was a soft click, followed by words that sounded almost musical. You did not move away. Ethan was not sure what to say. I didn't have a choice, he said honestly. I was cold. She tilted her head slightly. So was I. They sat there in silence again. The queen slowly pulled herself up, wincing a little. She did not look like the mighty leader from the war reports. She looked tired. She looked normal. Ethan pushed himself up too, groaning at the pain in his leg. He checked the small pack he had grabbed before escaping the wreck. There were only the protein bars left, and a cracked water bottle. He held out one of the bars to her. She stared at it, then at him. She did not move. It's food, he said, shaking it a little. Not much, but it's something. She reached out with one long arm, her claws careful not to scratch his skin. She took the bar and studied it, sniffing it before taking a small bite. Ethan watched her chew. It felt strange. Two enemies, sitting in a cave, sharing dry rations like lost travelers. When she finished, she gave him a slow nod. Thank you, Commander Vale. Ethan blinked. You know my name? I know many things, she said. Her voice was calm but had a strange warmth to it. You fought well. Many of my warriors respect you. He laughed weakly. Didn't know you gave compliments to your enemies? She did not laugh, but he thought he saw the edges of her mouth twitch. Maybe that was the Zalari version of a smile. They sat together for hours, silent except for the occasional rustle of the wind outside. The moon's surface stretched cold and empty. There was no sign of rescue, no sound of ships, only the two of them sharing the same cave, the same air, the same fragile hope that someone would find them when the sun began to set again. The cold returned. Ethan shivered and pulled his thin blanket tight around his shoulders. He felt Sarathaka shift closer. He froze when her hard shell pressed against his arm again. She looked at him with those black eyes. This place will be colder than last. Night, he nodded. He did not know what else to say. She lay down beside him again, careful not to touch his wounded leg. She folded her wings round them both like a living shield against the chill. Ethan could feel her warmth again. He could hear her soft, steady breath. It was strange. An alien queen, the leader of a people who once wanted him gone, now his only shelter from the freezing dark. Before he drifted off to sleep, he whispered to himself, "This is the strangest night of my life." He did not know that this one night would change everything for him, for her, and for two worlds that thought they could never trust each other. Outside, the wind howled. But inside the cave, two enemies slept side by side, kept alive by warmth, silence, and a thin thread of trust. When Commander Ethan Vale woke up the next morning, he was surprised to find that the cave was still warm. The queen's wings were wrapped around him like a blanket. He could feel her steady breath on his shoulder. For a moment, he forgot where he was. It felt almost normal, like waking up next to a friend. But when he opened his eyes fully and saw the cave walls, he remembered Sarathaka was already awake. She moved her wings away and sat up slowly, careful not to hit the low cave ceiling with her sharp crown-like head. Her large black eyes met his. She did not look away. "Your leg," she said in her soft, musical voice. "Show me." Ethan frowned. He looked down at his right leg. It was swollen and dark where the impact had hit him. He had wrapped it with part of his shirt, but it was not enough. "I'll be fine," he said. Trying to sit up, pain shot through him, and he sucked in a sharp breath. Sarathaka reached out one clawed hand and gently pushed him back down. "You will not be fine if you stay stubborn. Show me." Ethan sighed. He slowly pulled back the cloth. Sarathaka looked at the wound, then at him. She made a soft clicking sound in her throat. He could not tell if that was good or bad. "I can help," she said. She reached into a small pouch tied to her side. Ethan hadn't noticed it before. From inside, she pulled out a small vial with blue liquid. Carefully, she poured a few drops onto his leg. The liquid felt cold at first, then warm. The pain eased a little. "What is that?" Ethan asked. "Zalari healing nectar," she said. "It helps the body repair itself." Ethan raised his eyebrows. "So, you brought royal medicine on a battlefield." She looked at him calmly. A queen must survive. He could not argue. With that, he watched her pack the vial away again. Her movements were slow but precise. He noticed the cut on her left arm was leaking a thin trail of green fluid. Without thinking, he pulled out the last piece of cloth from his pocket and held it out to her. "Your arm," he said. "You should cover it." She tilted her head, studying the cloth like it was something strange. Then, she took it from him and wrapped it around her wound. Her claws were too big to tie the knot, so Ethan leaned forward and did it for her. Their hands brushed for a moment. Her shell was cold on the outside but warm underneath. When he was done, she looked at him with an unreadable expression. "Thank you, Commander Vale." He gave her a small smile. "Call me Ethan." She paused. Then, for the first time, she tried his name, Ethan. The way she said it made it sound like an honor, not just a word. He felt a strange pride at hearing it from her. They spent the next few hours checking the cave. Together, they found dry branches near the entrance. Ethan used his emergency lighter to make a small fire. The warmth filled the small space. He noticed that Sarathaka sat closer to the flames than he did. Maybe her kind needed heat more than humans did. They found a few strange fruits growing on a vine outside the cave. Ethan checked his scanner. It showed they were safe to eat. They shared them in silence. Sarathaka ate carefully, her claws slicing the fruit into perfect pieces before placing them in her mouth. When they were done, Ethan leaned against the cave wall and closed his eyes. "If only my crew could see me now," he said with a tired laugh. sharing snacks with the queen of the Zalari. Srathaka did not laugh, but her eyes softened. You think they would not understand? Ethan opened his eyes and looked at her. They'd think I lost my mind. She looked at the small fire, watching the flames dance among my people. Sleeping beside someone means trust. Sharing food means respect. Last night was not just survival. It was a bond. Ethan frowned. A bond. She turned to him. Yes. When to being asleep beside each other in need, it becomes a ritual. We call it CustomHFY, the night bond. It means we trust each other enough to share warmth. It cannot be broken easily. Ethan sat up straighter. Wait, are you saying we're stuck with each other now? Srathaka's wings fluttered slightly. In my culture, yes, you are now part of my circle, my protector when I sleep. And I am yours. Ethan's mind spun. He thought it was just survival. She thought it was a sacred ritual. He rubbed his temples and laughed softly. Of course. Just my luck. She did not seem offended. Instead, she moved closer to him. You do not understand now, but you will. The sun began to set again. The cold returned quickly on this moon. The wind howled outside, but the fire made the cave glow with gentle light. Ethan felt his eyelids grow heavy. He watched Srathaka settle beside him again. This time, she did not wait for him to move. She carefully wrapped her wings around him, creating a warm cocoon against the chill. He thought about the strange word she used, CustomHFY. He did not know what it truly meant in her heart, but he felt something in his chest shift. Maybe it was trust. Maybe it was just exhaustion. Before he drifted off, he whispered, Srathaka? She answered softly, Yes, Ethan, thanks for not leaving me alone out here. He felt her wings press closer, like a quiet promise. You are not alone now, she said. Not tonight. Not ever. Outside, the stars shone cold and far away. Inside the cave, two unlikely allies slept side by side once more, warm, safe, and bound by a ritual older than any human battle. Commander Ethan Vale woke up before dawn this time. The small fire was out, but the cave was still warm because Srathaka's wings were around him again. He could feel her breathing, steady and calm. For a moment, he did not move. He just lay there, listening to the silence. When he slowly opened his eyes, he saw that Srathaka was watching him. Her black eyes reflected the first light of the rising sun. She did not look away. You rest well, Ethan? She asked softly. He nodded, blinking the sleep from his eyes. Better than before. Warships never feel this warm. She gave a soft hum in her throat, like a sign of agreement. Then, she moved her wings aside and stood up. She stretched her arms and wings, careful not to hit the cave ceiling. Ethan pushed himself up too. His legs still hurt, but the healing nectar she had used helped a lot. He could stand now without falling over. He looked outside the cave. The pale sky above the moon was clear, but there was still no sign of any rescue ship. He checked his emergency beacon again. The tiny screen still blinked. Searching for signal, it said. He sighed. Srathaka stepped beside him. Your people will come soon. He glanced at her. How can you be so sure? She tapped her claw lightly against the beacon. Because you matter to them. They will search until they find you. Ethan snorted. And what about you? Won't your people come looking too? She paused. Her wings flicked slightly. They know where I am. Ethan frowned. What does that mean? Srathaka did not answer right away. She walked back into the cave and sat down on a flat rock near the wall. She looked at him and gestured for him to sit to. Ethan sat down across from her. He felt her eyes on him, studying him in a way that made him feel like he was part of some big plan he did not understand. Finally, she spoke. Ethan Vale, you must listen carefully now. He nodded slowly. I'm listening. She folded her wings close and spoke in a calm, clear voice. What we did these 2 nights, sleeping side by side, sharing warmth, is not just survival for the Zalari. It is a sacred act, a promise. Ethan rubbed his forehead. You said it's called CustomHFY, a night bond. Yes, Srathaka said. A night bond is a promise of trust and protection. When one accepts this bond, It must be honored again and again until it is fully complete. Ethan frowned. What do you mean again and again? Sarathaka leaned closer. Her voice was soft, but her tone was firm. You are now my night bond. You shared warmth with me in my time of weakness. By our law, you must do it again every night until I say the ritual is finished. Ethan's mouth fell open. You're joking. I do not joke, she said simply. He laughed, a dry, confused laugh. So what happens if I say no? She tilted her head slightly. If you break the bond, it is an insult to my people. They will see it as betrayal, a dishonor. Ethan ran a hand through his messy hair. He could not believe what he was hearing. So, what you're telling me is you plan to show up at my place every night, lie down next to me, and sleep there every single night? Sarathaka nodded once, very slowly. Yes. Ethan stood up and started pacing the small cave. This is insane. I'm just a fleet commander, not some royal pillow. He looked at her, hoping for a sign that she was messing with him, but her face was calm, her eyes unblinking. This is how we show trust, she said. You kept me warm. I keep you safe. My people see this as proof that humans and Zalari can trust each other. Ethan stared at her. So this is a diplomatic thing now? Yes, she said. Your leaders will see it too. They may not understand it at first, but they will see its power. Ethan sat down again, his mind spinning. He thought about his crew, his ship, his people. How would they react? If their commander brought an alien queen into his quarters every night, how would the generals explain this to Earth? Sarathaka watched him closely. You are troubled. He let out a shaky breath. You think, this is a lot to take in. She placed one of her clawed hands on his shoulder, careful not to scratch him. You are strong, brave. This is why I chose you. He looked up at her. You chose me? She nodded. There were other humans I could have left beside that night, but I saw you. I trusted you would understand. Ethan almost laughed again, but this time it came out as a sigh. And what do we do now? Sarathaka stood up and looked out at the pale sky. We wait. Your people will come. When they do, I will go with you. Ethan's eyes widened. You're coming back with me. Yes, she said firmly. Where you sleep. I sleep. This is our bond now. Ethan stared at her strong back and her folded wings. He thought about his crew again, the way they would stare, the questions they would ask, the gossip that would spread like wildfire through the fleet. He almost wanted to smile. Almost. This is going to be awkward. Sarathaka turned to him, perhaps, but it will bring peace. He studied her calm face. He realized something then. This bond might look strange to humans, but for her people, it was a symbol stronger than any treaty. And for him, maybe it was a chance to stop a war that had already cost too much. They spent the rest of the day gathering what they could carry. Sarathaka found small roots and leaves that could be boiled for tea. Ethan searched for more dry wood. They sat together by the small fire as the stars came out again. When the cold wind blew into the cave, Sarathaka settled beside him without waiting this time. Her wings wrapped around him like they belonged their dot as he drifted off to sleep. Ethan thought about what would come next. A queen who would appear at his door every night, a bond he could not break, a secret that would not stay secret for long. But even with all that, he felt strangely calm, warm. Maybe it was the fire. Maybe it was the queen's wings around his shoulders, or maybe, just maybe, it was the small hope that to enemies could find a better way. Before he fell asleep, he whispered, "Good night, Sarathaka." She answered softly, her breath brushing his ear like a quiet promise. "Good night, Ethan. Sleep well, night bond." Outside the cave, the stars kept watch. Inside, two different worlds rested side by side, bound by warmth, trust, and a ritual that would soon change everything. When Ethan Vale opened his eyes on the fourth morning, the first thing he saw was light streaming into the cave. The second thing he noticed was Sarathaka's wings wrapped around him once more. The soft hum of her breathing made the small cave feel less cold, less lonely. He listened for a moment, then heard something strange. a faint crackle of static. He blinked, trying to focus. The sound was not inside the cave. It was coming from outside. He sat up quickly, waking Sarathaka. She opened her black eyes, blinking at him. "What is it?" Ethan pointed to the cave entrance. "Listen," Sarathaka's head tilted slightly. Her antennae flicked. Then she nodded. "It is your people." Ethan grabbed his broken communicator. He tapped it again and again. This time, the small screen showed a weak signal. A voice came through the static. "Commander Vale. Respond. This is Resolute. Do you copy?" "Commander Vale. Respond." Ethan's heart jumped. He pressed the button. "This is Commander Vale. I'm here. I'm alive." There was silence for a moment. Then the voice returned, clearer this time. "Commander Vale, we're locking onto your beacon now. Hold your position. Rescue team inbound." Sarathaka stood beside him now. Her wings shifted as she watched him with calm eyes. Ethan turned to her, excitement mixed with worry. "They're coming. We're going home." She nodded. "Then I will go with you." Ethan opened his mouth, closed it again, then sighed. "Right, of course." Outside, the rumble of an approaching shuttle grew louder. Within minutes, the shadows of human soldiers appeared near the cave. They were wearing heavy armor and carried scanners and weapons. But when they saw Ethan standing with the Queen of the Zalari, they stopped in their tracks. "Commander Vale," shouted Lieutenant Harris, his second in command. "Sir, we thought you were—" He stared at Sarathaka. His hand dropped to his weapon, but Ethan raised his arm quickly. "Stand down, Lieutenant. She's with me." Harris glanced at the Queen's folded wings and the calm look on her face. "With you, sir? You mean she's your hostage?" Sarathaka tilted her head. "I'm no hostage." Ethan stepped forward. "Long story, Harris. I'll explain everything on the shuttle." The soldiers kept their eyes on Sarathaka as they helped Ethan walk outside. His legs still hurt, but with their help he managed. Sarathaka walked beside him the whole way, never more than a step behind. When they reached the shuttle, the human soldiers exchanged confused whispers. Some stared openly at Sarathaka's crown-like crest and shimmering wings. Ethan could already hear the rumors starting in their minds. Inside the shuttle, Ethan sat down in the medical bay. A medic started checking his leg. Harris sat across from him, looking worried and curious. "Sir," Harris said in a low voice, "are you sure about this? Bringing her with us?" Ethan looked at Sarathaka, who was calmly observing the human ship as if she were inspecting a new garden. She did not look afraid at all. She did not flinch when the shuttle doors closed or when the engines roared to life. "She saved my life," Ethan said quietly. "I saved hers. We made a promise." Harris frowned. "A promise?" Ethan just shook his head. "It's complicated." The shuttle lifted off, leaving the cold moon behind. Through the small window, Ethan watched the surface grow smaller and smaller until it vanished into the endless black of space. Back on the Resolute, Ethan's return caused a storm of questions. Soldiers and officers lined the corridors, whispering as Sarathaka walked beside him. Her wings brushed the metal walls, leaving a faint trail of alien dust that shimmered in the light. The crew stepped aside, wide-eyed, unsure whether to salute Ethan or bow to the alien queen. When they reached the briefing room, Admiral Knox was waiting. He was an older man with sharp eyes and a voice that could silence a whole room. When he saw Sarathaka, his eyes narrowed, but he said nothing about her at first. "Commander Vale." The Admiral said, "Good to have you back. Sit down." Ethan sat. Sarathaka stood behind his chair, her head held high. She did not seem nervous at all. The Admiral folded his arms. "Report. What happened on that moon?" Ethan took a deep breath and told them everything. The crash, the cold, the cave, the sleeping side by side for warmth, the healing nectar, the ritual. He explained Zerthka as best as he could. As he spoke, the room grew quiet. Some officers shifted uncomfortably. Some looked confused. A few hid small smiles behind their hands. When Ethan finished, the Admiral leaned back, silent for a long time. "So," the Admiral said at last, "the Queen of the Zalari is now. You're sleeping." Companion Ethan winced. It's not what it sounds like, sir. It's a cultural bond. It means trust. If I reject it now, it could start another conflict. Sarathaka stepped forward. It is not a question of if. The bond is formed. It will be honored. I will remain by his side. The admiral looked at her. For a moment, the two leaders stared at each other, human and alien, war-hardened both. Finally, Admiral Knox sighed. He rubbed his temples. Commander Vale, do you understand what kind of storm this will cause in the council? Ethan nodded. Yes, sir. And you're prepared for it? Ethan looked at Sarathaka, then back at the admiral. Yes, sir. The admiral let out a dry laugh. Very well. We'll figure this out. For now, you'll stay on the Resolute. Both of you. The council will decide how to handle this bond. Sarathaka bowed her head slightly. I thank you, human leader. The admiral did not bow back. He just gave her a long, careful look, then turned to Ethan. Rest up, Commander. I have a feeling you'll need your strength. That night, Ethan sat alone in his quarters for a moment. He looked at his old bunk, his uniform hanging neatly in the corner, the picture of his old crew on the desk. Everything felt normal, but nothing was normal anymore. There was a soft knock at his door. He did not have to ask who it was. The door slid open and Sarathaka stepped in. She looked at the bed, then at him. Without a word, she sat down beside him. Is this how it will be now? Ethan asked softly. She nodded once, until the bond is complete. Ethan lay back on the bed. Sarathaka moved closer, her wings unfolding gently. She draped them round him, the same way she had done in the cave. Outside the door, rumors flew like wild birds. On the other side of the wall, officers whispered about the queen who slept beside their commander. Some found it funny, some found it strange. Some wondered if it would bring peace or trouble. But inside the small room, there was only warmth, only quiet trust, only the bond they had chosen, or perhaps the bond that had chosen them. And in that soft silence, under alien wings, Commander. Ethan Vale closed his eyes and let himself rest, ready or not for whatever would come next. Commander Ethan Vale had seen many strange things in his years serving the Earth Fleet. He had fought pirates in asteroid belts, negotiated with traders who spoke 20 languages, and faced enemy ships larger than cities. But he had never imagined that the biggest talk on his ship would be about who slept next to him at night. It had been 3 days since the rescue team brought him and Sarathaka back to the Resolute. In that time, the entire ship had turned into a nest of whispers and sideways glances. No one dared to speak directly to Ethan about it. Instead, they nodded quickly when they passed him in the halls and looked at Sarathaka with wide, curious eyes. She always walked half a step behind him. If Ethan sat in the mess hall, she sat beside him. If he went to the briefing room, she waited by the door like a silent guardian. And when night came, she was there in his quarters before he could even change out of his uniform. Some young cadets started calling him the bonded one behind his back. Harris tried to stop the rumors, but rumors are faster than any commander's orders. On the 4th morning aboard, Ethan sat alone in the observation deck. The wide glass window showed the stars outside, endless, cold, and silent. He held a mug of hot coffee, trying to clear his head. He heard the soft sound of wings before he turned. Sarathaka stepped into the room. The lights reflected off her crown-like crest and the tips of her folded wings. She looked at him and tilted her head slightly, curious. You sit alone today, she said. Ethan gave her a tired smile. Just needed a little quiet. She walked to the window and stood beside him. Her reflection looked almost ghostly in the glass, a tall, strong shape with wings tucked close like a giant bird at rest. You do not wish for me to stay? She asked. He looked at her reflection too. No, I do. I'm just trying to think. She nodded, as if she understood everything. Maybe she did. She was a queen, after all. They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars drift by. Then Sarathaka spoke softly. Your people fear me. Ethan sighed. They don't know you yet. They see you as the enemy. It's hard to change that overnight. She turned to him, her black eyes calm. And you? Do you fear me? He shook his head. No, I trust you. She seemed pleased. Her wings shifted slightly. Then your people will learn to. They trust you. They will follow your way. Ethan laughed under his breath. I wish it were that simple. Before Sarathaka could answer, the door behind them opened. Lieutenant Harris stepped in, holding a data tablet. He hesitated when he saw Sarathaka, but then walked forward and saluted. Commander. Queen Sarathaka, Harris said, bowing his head slightly. He still wasn't sure if he should salute her or bow, so he did both. What is it, Harris? Ethan asked. Harris handed him the tablet. Sir, the council has sent a message. They want you to join a secure meeting in 1 hour. They want her there too. Sarathaka looked at Ethan. The human council wishes to speak with me. Yes, your majesty. Harris said carefully. They, want to understand the bond. Sarathaka's eyes brightened. Then they shall. An hour later, Ethan and Sarathaka stood in the secure briefing room. A large screen showed the faces of the council, leaders from Earth, Mars, and the orbital colonies. Men and women in neat suits, eyes sharp and voices formal. One of them, Councillor Dryschen, leaned forward. His voice was clear and cold. Commander Vale, Queen Sarathaka, thank you for speaking with us. Sarathaka inclined her head. Your council honors me. Councillor Chen's eyes flicked to Ethan, then back to her. Queen Sarathaka, you understand why we're concerned. Your people and ours have been at the edge of open war for years. Now you say you share this ritual with our officer. Some see it as a trick. Sarathaka's wings twitched, but her face stayed calm. It is not trick. It is bond. Zerthka. It means trust that cannot be broken. Councillor Sophia Perez spoke next. Queen Sarathaka, do you mean to stay with Commander Vale forever? Sarathaka answered without pause. Until the ritual is complete. It may take many nights, many months. Whispers spread through the council members. Ethan stood up straighter. If I break the bond, there could be war. If I honor it, maybe there won't be. Councillor Chen leaned back, tapping his pen on his desk. And you are willing to risk your career for this? Ethan did not look away. Yes, sir. I gave my word. The council fell silent again. After a moment, Chen said, very well. Queen Sarathaka, what do you ask in return for this peace bond? Sarathaka looked at Ethan first, then at the council. Her voice was soft but powerful. I ask that our people speak without weapons. I ask that your ships stop hunting ours. I ask that you allow me to remain with my bond. And in return, I give you peace. The council whispered among themselves. Again, Ethan could hear words like spy, danger, and hope. Finally, Councillor Perez said, very well, we will consider this. But know this, if any harm comes to Commander Vale, or any trick is played, Sarathaka's eyes flashed. There is no trick. I protect him, even from my own people, if needed. Ethan's chest tightened. He could feel how real her promise was. The council ended the call with no clear answer. The screen went black. The room felt colder. That night, Ethan lay on his bunk again. He stared at the ceiling, wondering if he had done the right thing. Outside his door, he could hear two guards talking in low voices. He knew the entire ship was awake with rumors. Then Sarathaka stepped in, wings brushing the doorway. She crossed the room, sat on the side of his bed, and looked down at him. You did well today, she said. I don't know about that, Ethan said. They're still scared. Some think you're here to spy on me. She leaned closer. Let them think. They will see the truth in time. She lay down beside him. Her wings unfolded and wrapped around his shoulders, warm and protective. The cold ship faded away. The worries faded too, at least for a little while. Before he drifted off, Ethan whispered, Why did you choose me, Sarathaka? She answered, softly, her breath warm against his ear. Because when the cold came, you did not run, you stayed. And in the quiet of that small room, under alien wings, Ethan Vale felt the weight of war, trust, and hope pressed down. But for the first time in years, he did not feel it alone. For the next few days, Commander Ethan Vale felt like he was living in two worlds at once. In one world, he was still an officer of Earth's proudest fleet. In the other, he was the human half of an ancient alien bond that no human had ever heard of before. Everywhere he and Sarathaka walked on the Resolute, people stared. Some saluted him as usual, but gave Sarathaka nervous glances. Some avoided looking at them at all. Some whispered about whether he was under her control, or if she was under his. Admiral Knox tried his best to protect Ethan from too many questions. But the news had spread beyond the ship. People on Earth and Mars were arguing on news channels about whether Ethan Vale was a traitor or a hero. Some said the Queen's presence meant peace. Others feared it meant the Zalari would soon take over. Ethan ignored the gossip as best as he could. He focused on his daily work, reading reports, and giving orders. But every night, when he returned to his small quarters, he was reminded that his life was no longer his alone. Sarathaka was always waiting for him. She would greet him with her soft alien words and a gentle look. Then she would lie down beside him, folding her wings around him like a blanket. The first night, it had felt strange. Now, it felt like a shield against the world outside. One evening, Ethan stood by the window in his quarters. He watched the endless field of stars and thought about the days ahead. Sarathaka stepped up behind him, silent as always. She touched his shoulder lightly with one clawed finger. "You worry again," she said in her calm voice. Ethan gave her a small smile. "Always." She moved closer, her wings brushing against his back. "Speak your fear." He looked at her, reflection in the glass. "What if they never accept this bond? What if they send you away? Or worse, start a war anyway?" Sarathaka's antennae twitched. "Then they do not understand yet, but they will." He turned to face her fully. "How can you be so sure?" She stepped forward until she was close enough for him to feel the warmth of her wings. "Because they see you. You're a warrior who does not run, a leader who does not lie. You protect your people, and you protected me. This is what they will remember." Ethan lowered his eyes. "And if they order me to break the bond?" Her wings fluttered, then folded tight around him. "Then I will not allow it." He laughed softly. "You really are stubborn." She tilted her head, her dark eyes glittering. "As are you." The next day, the ship's comm system announced an emergency council meeting. Ethan was called to the secure chamber again. This time, Sarathaka did not wait at the door. She stepped inside with him and stood at his side. On the big screen, the faces of the council appeared again: Counselor Chen, Counselor Perez, and the others. Their expressions were serious, but this time there was no fear in their eyes, only decision. Counselor Chen leaned forward. "Commander Vale, Queen Sarathaka, we have debated long and hard." Ethan nodded, and Counselor Perez spoke. "Next, we have agreed to honor the bond. For now, this ritual will stand as a sign of trust between our people. There will be no war." A breath Ethan didn't realize he was holding escaped his chest. Beside him, Sarathaka remained still, but her wings shifted in a quiet sign of relief. Chen continued, "However, there are conditions. Queen Sarathaka, you will remain under Commander Vale's protection. You will not return to your fleet without our agreement. Your people will be asked to stand down their patrols near our borders." Sarathaka gave a slow nod. "Agreed, Counselor." Chen looked at Ethan next. "Commander Vale, you will be our bridge. If this bond means what you say it does, you will help us build something better. Peace, trade, understanding." Ethan stood straighter. "Yes, sir. I'll do my best, Counselor." Perez smiled faintly. "Your best has already brought us further than war ever did." The screen went dark. The meeting was over. Ethan turned to Sarathaka. For a moment, neither said anything. Then Sarathaka stepped close and touched her forehead lightly to his. A Zalari sign of deep trust. "It is done." He breathed out a shaky laugh. "It's only just begun." That night, there was no cold in Ethan's quarters. The ship's crew still whispered. Some still doubted. But some began to see the truth, that peace could come from the most unexpected bond. Ethan lay back on his bunk, the hum of the ship all around him. Sarathaka sat beside him, her wings half folded. He turned his head to look at her. When You first curled up next to me on that cold moon. Did you know it would lead to this? She smiled, a small, alien smile that showed her sharp teeth but somehow looked gentle too. No, I only knew you would not let me freeze. He chuckled softly. Guess that's all it takes to change the galaxy. She lay down beside him. Her wings unfolded and wrapped around him, warm and soft, the tips brushing his neck. In that moment, Ethan did not feel like a hero or a soldier or a bridge between two species. He just felt human. And Sarathaka, she was not a queen or an enemy. She was simply there. The bomb was real. As sleep came, Ethan thought about tomorrow. The first talks. The messages to Sarathaka's fleet. The hard work of making enemies trust each other. It would not be easy. Some people would always fear what they did not know. But maybe, just maybe, sleeping side by side could build something stronger than war. Outside the window, the stars shone bright and silent. Somewhere out there, fleets still waited in the darkness. But in this small room, a promise held steady. A promise born in the cold, kept warm by trust. And so, under alien wings, Commander Ethan Vale drifted to sleep, no longer alone.